Hello, friends. Alan here at Six Silver Seals, welcoming you, as always, to another edition of Tarot Tuesday. This reading is for the week that begins on Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. And we have Mercury in Virgo, the Magician and the Hermit, up to his old tricks again. This time trine retrograde Pluto in Capricorn, which are represented by Judgment reversed and the Devil, respectively. And this is a very interesting aspect because with Judgment reversed here, it seems to me that this is less about things becoming different in a way that the change after which nothing will ever be the same, that is sort of the hallmark of the Judgment card. And instead it's more like you've changed and everything else is the same. And it's about coming to an understanding of the ways that limited you with the Devil here. It's a very internal aspect to this one, because it's not, like I say, it's not about the world around you changing and you having to adapt to it. It's more about the world within you changing and you having to adapt it to the world around you. Because you have grown and leveled up and changed, you have new tools at your disposal, new skills to use. You're not the same as you used to be. And the trouble with not being the same as you used to be is in breaking out of the shackles of this thing, of the person that you used to be. And that can be really difficult when it's the box people want to put you in. However comfortable or uncomfortable you are with change, on average, most people tend to be rather uncomfortable with it. And they will want to keep you from being different than they thought you were. So I feel like a lot of this is going to have to do with interpersonal stuff. It's not that you're grappling with the changes to who you are. It's that now that you're letting them out, everyone else is struggling. And you kind of have to sort of either on the one hand choose to help them through it, or stick to the people who have the least amount of trouble adjusting to the new you. Your mileage may vary, however, I think I might be able to give you some guidance. So, we will begin with Virgo. And we have the Eight of Wands. Virgo, given that this is taking place in your sun sign while the sun is ruling it, it makes sense that the Eight of Wands, the card of speed, is here. The card of rapid forward movement, right? Maybe not so rapid as the Chariot, but still rather quick. And it's just all at once, it seems like, you are sort of revealing yourself to your world, which is a good thing, in that, it typically is better to rip than peel off the Band-Aid. But that doesn't mean that you'll be dealing with all of this all at once rather than gradually. And rather than, getting through one little thing at a time all the way until the end, you get it all at once and have to spend the next week sort of piecing through what you can do, what you need to do, what needs to change so that you can occupy your world more fully now that you're not who you used to be. So I would expect this to be happening all at once. Probably, I would say, starting on Tuesday, or not Tuesday, excuse me, but Wednesday, with the full moon. Things coming to a peak, things coming to a head. Lots of light to illuminate the truth in the way that the moon does, which can be, sometimes illusory, but I would say probably Wednesday is going to be like the peak of this for you, where all these things happen at once, and then you've just got the fallout for the rest of the week to try and sort of do cleanup after. For Libra, we have the Three of Pentacles. And the Three is a card of structures that you build, sort of. The number three introduces a third option between what was previously a polarity, right? And so you have two extremes, and they're connected, but like the middle ground is thin and narrow. Three opens up a new point which mediates the other two, and each of the points mediates the opposition of the other 2 points, right? That's the idea of that's what it does. Three is a mediator, but with the Three of Pentacles, when you have, pentacles and the earthly concerns involved, we're talking about building something in some sort of enduring structure. The way that you are different is allowing you to start you're taking the clay of your old world and shaping it into whatever final form you want it to take in your new one. And the question, though, is that this is something that is done with other people. Again, you have the three here. And so what you're being called asked of is who is capable of, as long as we're sticking with the pottery metaphor, who is capable of being your wheel or an extra pair of hands to help shape this thing the way that you want it shaped. It's not necessarily trimming the fat. That is to say, you're not necessarily removing anybody from your life, but you're deciding which people get to have the most important roles in it. Scorpio has the Page of Swords. With the Page of Swords, there is an introduction to new thought patterns and new ways of thinking and of intellectually making sense of the world. And so you're stepping out from the Hermit here, Scorpio, as the week progresses. You are giving, not necessarily in the same way that Libra is, but the new you is understanding the old you's world in a way that the old you was not capable of doing. Or in again, understanding or conceiving of it in a way that would have been impossible for you before. Now, what that leads to, we probably won't know fully until next week, but it is a week-long process of really coming to understand that, the way you used to occupy the world and the way you're gonna have to occupy it now are not the same, and you're really gonna have to, come to grips intellectually with how they're different and what that means. For Sagittarius, we have the Emperor. A friendly card for those of you born under the sign of the Archer, because this indicates a period of really stepping into your power. Something is changing or has changed for you that allows you to be more in command of your world. Not necessarily, forceful or despotic or a tyrant or anything like that, but just you've learned things that will let you give more of a shape to the world than you thought you had the power to do before. You're capable of more than you thought, and this is a good thing to learn, but the difference between what you thought you were capable of and what you were actually capable of is pretty stark. And that in itself is something that can be difficult to grapple with too. So all in all, I do think this is a good week for you as you step into your sovereignty, Sagittarius, but be prepared for the revelations that will come along with that. Capricorn has the Knight of Cups. And I like this card. It's, the Knight of Cups is a bringer of new friends and glad tidings, and it's emotional connections. Some new emotional connection is headed your way, Capricorn. And now it needn't be romantic. This is my caution always with the cup cards. It needn't necessarily be romantic. It's just emotional. This could be a friend, reconciliation with a family member, maybe, or maybe new members joining the family. This happens all the time in our world, right? Step siblings and what have you. But either way, this will be someone with which you are able to forge a very close connection, or a closer connection than previously, leaning more towards that latter one, if I'm honest. But you are now available for this approach in a way that you were not before, which makes sense because the Knight of Cups is one of those that comes nice and slow, so as not to spill it. He's been this person. I say he, and I mean the knight in the picture. But this person has been waiting for you to be ready, so that they can make this approach and make this offer of, friendship or whatever form it ends up taking. But again, now that you're different than you used to be, you're open to this in a way that you were not before. For Aquarius, we have the Six of Pentacles. A card of giving and of generosity and of plenty. And it's less that you have this to give now and didn't before, and more that you understand the ways in which you've always been able to give, but never really recognized that. Strangely enough, despite the fact that this is a Pentacles card, I don't necessarily see it as necessarily being plenty in the material sense. Like, I'm not expecting you to strike it rich so that you can donate to your favorite charity or anything like that. This is more about, like, non-wealth material stuff, like having time and energy to give to things that you want to give it to. Whether that's yourself or someone else, but you're going to be much less stingy with these things that are physical possessions, but not necessarily, actual, like, monetary wealth. More time to spend with maybe even just, like, your pet or something. But you've been holding back in an area where that you didn't realize until now, and realizing it is in and of itself enabling you to do right and do better now. For Pisces, we have the Seven of Pentacles. The card of the harvest and of reaping what you sow. And interestingly enough, I kind of feel like it's the Mercury in Virgo that is illuminating for you, Pisces, despite the fact that it's opposite you, what you're getting out of this, which is that you've been putting in a lot of work on who you are lately. This is the feeling that I'm picking up on this. And now, like, it's finally, it's not... The work of improving the self and of doing, like, shadow work and those sorts of things is never over, but you do hit periods where you can let larger projects of the self, like, go for a while. Like, I've done all the work that I need to do with this particular thing. I can put it down and enjoy the fact that I've come this far. And that's where you're at, Pisces. You get to sort of reap the fruits of your labor. But bear in mind that fruits contain seeds of their own. And you can do whatever you like with those. Personally, I would recommend planting them as well. But remember that each fruit bears the seeds of future growth. Having said that, no matter how brief, you should always take the time to bask at least a little in success. It's worth it. For Aries, we have justice. Equity and balance and fairness. And I get the feeling that this is that much like with Pisces, Aries, this is a balance is something that you've been trying to strike for quite a while, that this week is going to help you find. Um, it might be a work-life balance. It might be a self-other balance. Um, it might be recalibrating the balance between how much time you invest in physical and spiritual pursuits. But either way, a balance that you've been struggling to strike for quite some time starts to sort of shake itself out as a result of the work you've done over the next week. And obviously, I encourage you to stick with it and see it through. But like it's paying off, right? You're getting to the place where it doesn't feel like a particular part of your world is taking up all the energy you need to do all of the things that are in your world. You're finally getting to that place where you can strike that balance. And there's something of a sense of relief here, which is good. We Arians should not allow steam to build up. If you don't find a valve to release it, as we all well know from having lived as Aries suns for a while, it'll just blow, and that's not good for anybody. For Taurus, we have the King of Cups. And I like to distinguish between the King and the Queen of any suit as the difference between self-sovereignty in the case of the Queen and mastery in the case of the King. Like, it's one thing to rule over your emotions. It's another thing to be totally in command of them. And this is where we are with the King of Cups, Taurus. This is what you're looking at, is for this week, having more of a complete grip on the way that you feel and whether or not it's appropriate to feel the way you feel so intensely or for such a duration or what have you. But again, I feel this is a week where you really start to get a grasp on feeling your emotions without necessarily being ruled or overpowered by them. It seems to me that there's going to be for this a particular thing that illuminates this for you or that gets you to this place, Taurus. But when or what that is, I can't really say, other than obviously it's going to be sometime over the next 7 days. And we have kings again. Gemini has the King of Swords. This card feels thicker than the other ones. So where Taurus is gaining mastery over the emotions, Gemini, you're gaining mastery over the mind itself, over the intellect, over the rational thought processes. And I mean, I like this for you. You're an air sign, so what is intellectual is already pretty comfortable for you. But this takes that to another level. Again, we're not talking about mere comfort, but mastery. Right? The total ability to wield at will this particular thing. Because again, along with the tendency to overfeel, the tendency to overthink is one that can be, detrimental, if not devastating, depending on where and when it occurs. And this is helping you rein in that tendency to rationalize beyond the point where rationalization is necessary. Part of having the intellect in check is knowing when not to apply it, because it cannot solve all of your problems. For Cancer, we have the Page of Wands. And normally the Page of Wands is just a passion newly ignited, but I get the feeling here, Cancer, that this is a passion reignited. A rediscovery of an intense draw towards something or someone. But again, it's not new, right? That's and I think I'm picking up on the Pluto reversed here. This isn't new for you. Like the passion for this activity or for being with this person or for whatever it might be isn't new. It's just been gone a while. Um, and I don't even think that you necessarily have to welcome it back as an old friend. But it kind of feels this is more like a reset button, a chance to do over whatever this passion project is. But it definitely feels more like in the if you want to think about it this way, you're not the person that you used to be, which by default makes anything that you touch not the thing it used to be either. At least not for you. So approaching whatever this returning thing is like an old friend is not the right move because then you're going to be approaching it as from the perspective of the old you as the new you, which will keep you from getting out of it what the new you is meant to get out of it, if that makes sense. Last but not least is Leo, and we have the Six of Swords. Victory and the chance to kind of take a deep breath and get a rest. I find it rather interesting that you, Leo, as well as your opposite number in Aquarius, both ended up with a 6 card. But this is not, and honestly, this is more like the Seven of Pentacles that Pisces got than anything. This isn't like a temporary victory in any sense. Like you win here, but I do get the feeling that it is kind of to a minor degree, because you're pivoting from it with a short rest in between to a new and greater, maybe not necessarily a new, but definitely like a greater struggle, a greater work that needs to be done. You're pivoting to that from this with, like I say, a little break in between to enjoy the fact that you've completed the work that you were doing. But like that, it's not cyclical the way that the Seven of Pentacles can be, where the fruit has the seeds of its own continued growth. This is ending one thing and moving to something else, which is a subtle distinction, but it exists nonetheless. Having said that, it is a victory, and you should take the time to enjoy it. And that is Tarot Tuesday for this week. I hope that you enjoyed it. I will remind you, as I do every week, that patrons got to see this first on Monday. In the meantime, I have been Olive of 6 Silver Seals. Be kind to yourselves and one another. I'll see you next week.